Oh, the path that human evolution takes is random thing. Um, it is not linear as many creationists, for example, even the media portray it as it is. It's more like a type of web. Some um, some ends lead to nowhere, while others can branch out even more. It's almost like it is basically what the tree of life is. Um, Evolution leads to no end result or end game. And sometimes countries which are very powerful and have certain ideologies, they tend to over politicize even more than normal from the West, over politicize um, human evolution. One such country is China. China is a wonderful, rich cultural and historical and archaeological mammoth. It's just huge. Um, we are finding just on what's that field, paleontology. Well, the dinosaurs, just the dinosaur discoveries that are happening in China are just mind-bogglingly. We've known from their discoveries that dinosaurs have feathers, for example, had feathers actually, and it is truly a magical place. But sometimes uh, the politics get in the way, and they either don't allow enough access to their finds, or it's complex. It's complex. I won't go into the politics because we are not here. Um, we are going to compare two hominins, Archaic H Sapiens, basically us, from two different parts of the world. They are roughly, well, they're not contemporary because they date, difference in dates are about 100,000 to 150,000 years difference. I'm going to start off with the Chinese example, and I'm going to share. Um, so you can see, it is basically, it's sort of a blog, but it's not a blog. It's actually a scientific description. It's not a study, because that would come later once the actual scientific paper is drawn up, and I think you guys can see the paper now, the article now should be appearing after a little bit of delay, and it's the Dali cranium. I'll just show you guys a bit better. Here we go. Now, the Dali cranium was discovered in 1978. It was embedded in a lost terrace near Jifang village, Dali County, Shanxi province. And initial reports of the Dali site can be found at, please no joke. So no, yeah, it's a joke for WANG, because I don't want this to be demonetized. If I may, I'm a bit scared to say it. Et al. And Wu and Yu. I love Chinese names. And Wu Xingji, with Wu Xingji describing the cranium. Additional comparative information can be found at Wu 1989, Wu 1988b. These dates are the actual references to the description and the scientific papers that were drawn up, that were written up by the authors. In this case, Wu, Yu, Wang et al., many of them. And and then there's the English language description by Wu and Poirier, probably French, or yeah, French. So they used uranium dating of ox teeth that were found in the layer associated with this skull. Now, the ox teeth gave a date of 209,000 plus or minus 23,000 years, and it was performed by Chang et al. Excuse me. I have no real problem with the dating of the ox teeth. Fine. um, sorry about that. I need a drink. My got a bit of a cough. Sorry about that, guys. So you can't use radiocarbon dating or any other or many other datings once you pass 70,000 years. You have to use other radiometric dating, and in this case they used uranium thorium or uranium lead dating. Basically, uranium is decaying into lead, and the amount of uranium compared to the amount of lead found in the samples gives you a comparative date. And we know that because uranium decays at a constant um, a constant rate, so we can we can date anything using this method. It is reliable. Just putting it out there, even though it's was not performed by my favorite dating site, the the Max Planck Institute of Germany. But I will accept that. I don't see any. I've read the articles. I've read other ones on background, and I don't see anyone debunking or arguing against the date. The date of the teeth, the ox teeth that were found in associated with his skull, are accurate. I'll accept that. I'll accept that. Now, the nature of the association between the hominin cranium and the ox teeth remain uncertain. Now, there is a little bit of a doubt. And let's keep reading. Given what is known about Chinese hominin fossil record, yeah. Some time ago, just a little bit of background. There was a National Geographic documentary and another documentary. I can't remember it offhand. That showed that that the Chinese officials, the Communist Party, etc., they wanted to portray H. erectus, and they can rebuild facial reconstruction of for example, Zucudian. Zucudian is a Peking man, if you guys want to know. I've talked about him before. And they added Asian features. We don't know if H. erectus had Asian features. We only know that H. sapiens have Asian features, the eyes, etc. So it's a bit of a stretch. So that's what they're basically bringing into question here. For instance, the consistent dating results of Zucudian locality 1 and the data of this magnitude would not seem unreasonable. So, yes. A number of small stone artifacts, primarily scrapers, which I don't know what scrapers they found. They would have to have been Musturian type or equivalent, East Asian equivalent. And possibly, yeah, Musturian. And they would have been the Musturian are associated with Neanderthals, by the way, but they have also been found in association with H. sapiens and H. sapiens, Archaic H. sapiens in Africa with H. sapiens, Archaic H. sapiens. So yes, now. Just giving you guys a background, then I'll show you the other fossil, which I will compare these to. Dali was reasonably complete, well preserved. The damage was restricted to the post depositional crushing. That means after it was laid down. The weight of the sediments, etc., crushed it slightly. The displacement of the palate and the left maxilla, and the large section of the right parietal is missing. That big hole here, you can see in the four pictures. This is basically the sample. The so um, so yeah. Now uh, but the rest of it is basically just describing the features. It has a front relatively robust supraorbital development. If you guys can see the mouse, it's basically the top of the brow ridges where the brows are, the brow just on top of the eyes. Um, and the torus is the actual eight that forms around the eyes, etc., which is slightly cruciated eminence. It's slightly forward. When viewed laterally, the parietal is long and low. Um, Unlike H. erectus, maximum cranial breadth is located in the posterior superior temporal. That means the skull is slightly elongated. Okay. Most of the vault superstructures in the temporal, occipital, and frontal regions are robust, so the bones are thick. That's what it means. And so now, this cranium, the rest of the article just basically says that describes it. They try to link it to it being evolved from H. erectus locally, and also they may have because they haven't DNA tested it yet, and they may if they do possibly find some Denisovans maybe or not. That's the bottom part here. They do have here a comparison with Dali and Jishinwa Archaic H sapiens. You can see the difference between the two. The back part is quite similar, except it's flatter on top, where this black spot is. The brows are on the yellow sample, which is the Dali. The Jinishwan is the right one. The Dali is on the left. It is not as protruding. But now we go to possibly the oldest H sapien, archaic H sapiens that we have found today, and I've already covered him last year, and it is this one. It is what's his name? Jibil something or other. This sample was found in Morocco, and he's been dated to around 250 to 350,000 years. You can see the modern one is on the right, us modern H sapiens, and I keep forgetting his name because weird names. Jebel, if I can find here it is Jebel Irud. This is Jebel Irud. The one on the left is Jebel Irud. The one on the right is modern H sapiens, and you can see some of the features. It's the back part of the skull is elongated in contrast to our truncated, being shortened. The forehead is still sloping backwards, more slightly sloping backwards in comparison to ours, which goes straight up. The brows are more pronounced in comparison to ours. The face is just a little bit protruding. The rest of it is just H sapiens. Modern H sapiens are more what we call gracile. They are lighter weight, quote unquote, compared to the archaic ones. Now let's compare this one with the Chinese sample. I'll flip one back and forth up here. What do we find? Look at the nasal cavity. It's quite triangular in Jebel Irud, and in the Chinese sample Dali, it still is triangular, not as pronounced, especially in the bottom skull, bottom part. One. Let's look at the cranial vault, which is the you put your hand on your forehead until the back part of your skull. That's the cranial vault. Well, it's basically the where your brain stands, the cranial vault. By the way, it sits in. In Jebel Irud, it is quite similar. This shape, it has Dali has a slightly protruded back part of the skull compared to Jebel Irud. It is not as pronouncedly uh, poking out. You guys see this, the actual back part. If you can see my cursor, see if I can just that's on. This part here behind where the hole is, where these hole is in the bottom, we have where the hole is in the picture four, one, two, well, picture three, more or less. You guys can see it. Yeah, I can see it there. It's protruding there, but if you go to the Ibel Jarud, the Moroccan one, it is not. It is quite round, not as round as modern humans, but still rounder than Dali. Even in the top one, you can still see the protruding bit. Okay, the occipital torus, where where the eyes socket is, the torus, and the uh, what is it? The brows, brow ridges, etc., are about the same as Jebel Urud. This one, but in the Jebel Urud, it's more like continuous, where in this one, it is more pronouncedly torusy, means it's a more a figure eight than than a complete um, straight line. So, so yeah, the teeth they don't show in either of them, but they are, for all intents and purposes, they are quite similar. Now, what does the premise of this article basically say? Uh, it's in the description. You guys can have a read of it, or I'm just going to summarize it. It's going to be just another few more minutes. It basically says that look, we have a candidate for H sapiens, archaic H sapiens, developing locally from the local H erectus. Okay, but we now know that H sapiens, the archaic H sapiens, have been spreading out across Eurasia for since at least 200 ish or even later, 1,000 years ago. And I'm still looking for a definitive direct dating of these samples, the Dali samples, from an independent um, laboratory. I would absolutely love that Max Planck Institute did a test, see if I could date it. I could use the same technique, uranium series dating. It works. It's reliable, and I would love to see that happening. Um, it's interesting here. Just describe what it is, how it found, and so that yeah. Basically, here is there is also a great deal of anatomical variation in the Chinese archaic H sapien group. Of course, there are, but there is also great variation in all of the H sapien, archaic H sapien groups all over Eurasia and Africa. That is, there's a lot of variation, as there is a lot of variation in every other hominin except modern humans, modern H sapiens sapiens. We are very even if you look at all the differences which we stack up as from one point to another point in a linear cline, in a whatever measurement you want to use. We are not that diverse. Our bones are very, 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 very similar, just scaled differently through a hell of a lot of other um, conditions, be they environmental, be they whatever, cultural, whatever. Um, the modern H sapiens are very homogeneous, and it's a fact. There's no real discussion. It's been settled. But if we look at, because we had a bottleneck, we at some point in the past, I'll try and find out in the future, because I need to do that. I need to research that to debate. Anyone who wants to debate me, I need to find the actual data when the point that H sapiens, modern H sapiens, the last um, group of us that left Africa around the 70,000 yearish mark. There is evidence, and I don't have them directly here, but I've read about it. I have it somewhere where we were close to extinction, and from genetic data, from all sorts of indirect evidence that we became there was a bottleneck in our genetic makeup, and from that it caused us to modern us now be very, very homogeneous in almost every aspect. That the differences are so small that they don't even compare to what the differences of other of our cousins, the Neanderthals, Denisovans, even our earlier H sapiens ancestors did. I'm not even going to go into our the common ancestor, antecessor, H antecessor, because they they were, there's just a lot of variation in the archaeological record of them. So yeah, we can say that, just in concluding, that Jebel Irhoud, and Dali, and the East Asian H sapiens, they still are archaic H sapiens. And if they do find any, I would even absolutely love that this is not actually H sapiens, but H sapiens Denisovan. That would be awesome, because this date is within the theoretical separation between Neanderthals and Denisovans. So, so I think that basically concludes my little talk. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This week I had there was a drought. It was a drought of articles. I had to really search the web, the internet, to find something that slightly interesting, because this was just basically a comparison. I didn't really talk about how they got the date. I did talk about the dating method and compare the two, but I'm not that very happy with this one. I could have done better, but just there was nothing really interesting. And I'll see what I can find for next week's one, and we'll see what happens during the week. So I'm just going to stop sharing this, and basically end the stream. Just before I go, answer a few things there. Davey, if I don't say certain words, they do stay monetized. Like I can't say HOMO, for example, even though I'm describing our genus, human genus, for example, or our lineage is genus. Of course, I can't swear, and stuff like that. And Gunny, my dear friend, Earth, the Milky Way special ed class. Yes, I do. My spaceship is really short, man. Shorter than the short bus. So, everyone, thank you for coming along. I hope this year I can diversify a little bit. I want to debate. I'm being on Twitter, being obnoxious and picky, and I hate myself for that. It's out of my character. I can't. And I want to see if I can debate someone. You know, with red stripes, Gunny. Yeah, yellow and red stripes. Yep. Yep, obviously, of course. So, thank you all for coming along. I hope I didn't bore you too much. And I'll see you next time. I'll see if I can find something really meaty which I can get my hands into and make and I have a beer or a couple of beers ready for something really good. And when I open those beers, I'll just enjoy it and help you guys as well. So yeah, thank you for being here, and good night.